So it's going to be about the team decision as we head into picks and bans. What Benji winds up playing in that solo lane, whether he sticks to what he just played or he moves in a different direction. ALG have one game above eUnited. If you had to choose something in the draft that changes for eUnited here for the win, where do you go, Aggro?
Less healing given up to Allegiance. I do not want to see them. They're just too good at backing up, understanding exactly what their composition can take in terms of damage, and then re-engaging with it in the later stages. eUnited's on the same page, apparently. Sylvanas going to be the first ban.
So do you want to see it come out in the bans, or do you want to see anti-heal come out in the picks, or do you want to see eUnited strip away the healing picks themselves?
I mean, it's always got to be a combination, right? You can't ban out every healer. You can't, just give up every healer either, though. So you have to find a nice balance. I like this Cabrakan ban weekend, very, very strong on it in the last game, controlled the jungle very, very well. And then eUnited takes away a healer for themselves.
Are we Terra. Back to Terra first picks, Tolly?
It could very well be a situation, not necessarily for all of Season 4 Smite, where Terra would be prioritized, but in specific teams to take away a comfort pick. Allegiance loves Terra in the soul lane, which is why that happened, but they let it through because of the Serqet.
I love the choice. Right away, Allegiance say, yeah, we beat you last time with healing. You're going to ban and take our healers. Well, we'll show you how to beat us. If only you did this in game number 1. They snatched the anti-heal out of Serqet right away.
And that's what you were asking about the Serqet ban in game 1. It was clear that Allegiance was looking to pick a healer composition, so they ban it away. eUnited doesn't make that same recognition, allowing it to go to Weekend. And Weekend's better on these, Guardian sort of setup sort of characters, but Serqet is like the man's logo. Like, he can play Serqet. This is definitely a comfort pick for
I love
Weekend.
the switch, though, from eUnited in game number 2 here. You were asking about what they needed to do to counter Allegiance, but the thing was sometimes you just have to play your own game, but now having Janus for Chaos, Thor for Virizio, this is more the eUnited former enemy style where they would go in and be aggressive.
Virizio on this Thor, Virizio has caught a lot of flack. He kind of faltered during the latter half of the Season 3, but I'm the guy that says no Johns, but I think there was a lot of excuses for the enemy guys then to sort of lean on. Virizio on this Thor, he's a defensive-minded player, I think, more so than some of the other players, but on this Thor specifically, he can play either direction, whichever way the game hands it to him, so I'm excited about that. ALG are going to select Chang'e. Is this going to be your favorite, the mid lane Chang'e aggro?
Could be. I think it is a flex pick at this stage. We also could see someone like Metyankey take Medusa in the mid lane, Chang'e into the solo lane, and then pick up another hunter for Oceans in the dual lane. Could be a possibility. Xbalanque, a guy we haven't seen in quite some time here for PandaCat.
In potential from eUnited. He's just all the ultimates are going to come out right at once for eUnited. You're going to have Terra's Blessing through space and time. Everybody's going to be running at Team Allegiance, and then nobody's going to be able to get seen because of Darkest of Nights.
So Xbalanque is a character that we actually talk about a lot here at the office. He doesn't really get seed play, or he doesn't really see play, and obviously it has to do with wave clear, but like you said, totally, turn off the lights and somebody's landing on top of you there for eUnited. Team Allegiance across the way, interesting draft. One word, who wins aggro?
Allegiance.
Oli.
I got to give ALG here.
Two of us say ALG. I'm going to toss it to the casters. Taco and Hindu, how you feeling?
Oh, I don't know. Taco, what about you? They've got Allegiance. Do you think it's Allegiance too?
What a cop-out by Tom right there.
We can hear him through our microphones now. This is generally what he always does, though. Let's be honest. Does he ever not cop out in most situations? What about you, though? You can't cop out. What are you going to do?
I would have to give it to ALG simply because executing the Xbalanque ultimate, I don't know how much experience eUnited has with this. It's a really great composition on paper. Xbalanque ult is probably one of the best ones in the game, from my personal opinion, when it comes to hunters, because that blackout everywhere, that's massive for team fights, especially when they have so much global presence coming in from that Thor, Janus, and Terra ultimate even. But at the same time, if they mess that up in the slightest, immediate punishment probably going to be coming the way from Chang'e, from Serqet, from Medusa. So it's either go big or go home, and I'm not sure that the risk is really worth the reward at this point in time.
Well, let's get into game and see how this one plays out between the two. Allegiance are up 1-0 right now, and it's a chance now for eUnited to answer back, but it's going to be PainDeViande on Terra, which her wave clear at the start is not the greatest here, Taco, and that's, I think, why we've not seen too much of her in the support role just yet.
No, that is most certainly the reason why we haven't seen a whole lot of Terra in that support role. I wouldn't be surprised to see PolarBearMike and Oceans opting to go in for that purple buff secure early on like they did in the last game.
Okay, we'll see what they end up doing here, because Allegiance did get off to an interesting start last time around. It is Chang'e in the mid lane here as well. And it feels a little bit like an Allegiance bait. This is like, okay, cool. Well, we took Terra because Serqet was banned, because we banned Serqet. But this time around, Serqet gets through, and I don't think Allegiance really thought, sorry, I don't think eUnited really thought about that too much here. So we'll see how this works out, because Serqet's anti-healing as well as Chang'e's anti-healing are pretty impactful.
Another issue too is we talked about the Terra not having the greatest level 1 game, but Xbalanque, that's gotta be that's a rough one, a bit of a doozy to say the least.
Well, let's see if eUnited's mid lane pressure combo with Virizial and Khaos and their dominant gods here can do very well for themselves to put some pressure on, and they've done just that, which they're going to actually invade themselves instead of looking to defend the left, which they could have opted for. Is it better to look for invades in the mid area of the speed and the red rather than defend your own?
I think it's better for them to go ahead and secure that speed buff, because you want to take away as much mobility as possible from that Serqet early on. Otherwise, it'll give Weekend way too much potential to look for an early pick into that duo lane.
PolarBearMike and Ocean's level 2 now with a nice little start for themselves. On the right-hand side, United will manage to steal away the speed buff away from Allegiance, and the Elementals there on the right-hand side too.
And Allegiance going ahead, healing right back up from where they were. So a little bit of poke damage that came out wasn't ideal for them, costing their speed, but at the same time, the fact that they're able to sustain that already could spell a little bit of trouble, because Chang'e, a lot of people don't realize it, but she hits pretty hard as well as heals quite a lot.
Well, Allegiance here going to steal away the left-hand side jungle of eUnite completely. Purple buff, red buff taken, as now Virizial will go and get his own speed buff. The blue still available for Benji to take care as well. He won't be able to do that on his own as a Xing 10, though. He will need some support, especially up against an Amaterasu.
eUnited can go ahead and recognize, hey, this duo lane, we're just going to lose the purple and red buffs. There's no way for us to really contest this early on without risking a first blood that we don't want to happen. So it's better for them to go ahead and capitalize onto the solo lane matchup and just take away the speed in blue in order to try and like mildly compensate for that loss in the duo lane.
And if anything, with that dual lane pressure here, it's more important for the eUnited mid and jungle to have a good game here. They have to get off to a good start and get these level 5s as quick as they can.
Virizial is probably going to be looking to pressure out Cyclone super hard in that solo lane as well, because he can adapt to the fact that we know that there's going to be a lot of mid dual lane pressure coming out for Allegiance. I might as well camp this solo lane and try to compensate for that loss of map pressure.
Interesting there. CycloneSpin did a cheeky little eye around the corner. They're like, is that blue buff still? Hang on a second, there's a Thor here. Changes his mind, but PainDeViande is caught out in an awkward spot, rotating round. There was no wards down there either. They just had a feeling he was coming from that angle, and they pick up an easy first blood, especially with the likes of Fafnir and Medusa with a level lead as well. Easy first blood.
First blood going the way of the Hunter is also not going to be fun for PandaCat, who's already going to be struggling in this matchup considering how good Medusa's clear is early on. So for PandaCat to automatically be defaulted to a level behind, it's going to be rough.
Some time from Khaos is forced out by Weekend in the mid lane with Metyankey. And you actually saw there, if that ultimate wasn't fired by Khaos, the same time as that happened, Weekend just hit 5 of her minions, so he could have instantly ulted potentially and called that Janus out.
And look, this is really interesting that Allegiance is going to go ahead and try to maybe bait out the fight, if not bait out the Gold Fury.
Oh, well, he's going to get a response straight away, but into a petrified from Oceans that deletes Khaos. Next is PainDeViande, still level 3, still level dead. That's for sure. 3-0, and now they can start the Gold Fury. United will not be able to respond now.
That was just one of those bad decisions that came with good intentions. Virizial was looking to just try and slow them down, maybe if anything get them to reset the Gold Fury, but unfortunately that Petrify from Oceans was just absolutely on point. Went ahead and nailed PainDeViande and Virizial straight to the face.
So you mentioned in game 1 it was about the Hunter matchup here, Taco. Well, there's bad news for PandaCat here, who's on the Xbalanque. We said he's going to have a negative lane matchup here, but Ocean's got all 3 of those kills. That's just going to accelerate his build even more.
It's absolutely terrifying as well, seeing a Medusa so far ahead so early on, especially into the likes of Xbalanque, who's banking on just delaying to the mid-late game area where he really gets to prosper, but he might not get that chance with how much of a lead Oceans has already been given.
Okay, you got a question to answer now as well. This is all very important because you're now a caster and you're going to get a caster curse. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Medusa's about to go back to base. What's she going to buy with all this gold she's got?
I would have to say he opts for the Warrior Tabi. He might as well get
if you're
that
wrong,
early.
You're rubbish. You know that, right?
I'm aware.
You're going to go Warrior Tabi. You're not going Transcendence. We're not going Ninja Tabi or anything like that. You got to be right.
I'm just going to stick with my guts and say that it's a Warrior Tabi simply because of the fact that he has chase down potential onto the Xbalanque, who opted to try and start T2 of that Transcendence. If Oceans is hitting tab at all and seeing that,
here we go.
I would rather chase him down.
Going back to bases Oceans right now. 2,500 gold in hand. She went Ninja Tabi. Useless. And devours gauntlets.
I wasn't completely wrong. He picked up the boots first.
Listen, you're just a typical caster like everybody else now. Have you noticed?
God.
You're always wrong. You're trying to save yourself by saying, I got part of it right.
I just...
How's it feel?
Feels really bad.
Yeah, you keep doing your tweets. Remember those days when you used to tweet about backcasting? Yeah, well, you're one of those backcasters now, girl.
Hey, well, you know what? Okay.
Gang potential in the jungle right now. As you can see, Metyankey got a very nice ultimate off there for a second. Space and time fired up, but PainDeViande dead again. Pain's been picked so many times here, Taco. Like game 1, what was he, 0-5, 0-6, and now again he's 0-3, less than 6 minutes in.
The General is not having a fun time out on the battlefield today. He has been falling non-stop, and it's just so devastating for him as well, considering that the mindset behind this Terra pick was to try and have the same sort of utility function that Cyclone saw in the last game. They really wanted that sustain to come through, but I just don't think that's the rest of the draft.
PandaCat under pressure from Weekend now. The Terra ult coming into play, but it's not enough to stop Oceans getting himself a 4th kill in this game. 5-0 at 6 minutes in. This is starting to become a rout. However, Khaos in the sky, looking to turn it around, pick up a kill in response. No, Mike will get out. Khaos is trying to come round. They'll clean this one up, looking for the unstable vortex. He's going to use the ult to absorb the damage, and a meditation too. Now it's a 3v2. Make that a 4v2 because Yankee's on the way round 2. Waxing Moon is available in a few seconds, but not in time to be able to hit the double ult there. 6-0, 6 minutes in.
That's just heartbreaking right there, especially for Khaos, who comes through thinking that, you know, I've got this Janus ultimate, I've got my Unstable Vortex coming through. And then Fafnir ult, completely immunes everything, complete outplay by PolarBearMike, really well executed as well for him to go ahead and break out the jukes. I mean, he says ball is life and it came through today. He has some sick jukes.
Well, ball may be life for him, but he's not very good at 2K17. I heard those stories. It took him a long time to get drafted first. So, well, he got drafted onto the Allegiance team at least, and he's making good strides for his team, involved in every single one of these kills so far. And Weekend's not far behind at 5 kill participation out of the 6 as well.
And the interesting part about that is Oceans hanging in there as well with the 5 kill participation. He is a force to be reckoned with right now, level 9. And the crazy part is he's not that far behind Cyclone, who's getting solo lane farm. And Oceans is just massive right now.
Yeah, he really is. And we'll see what Oceans can do. Now he's got Devour's Gauntlets online, back in lane. The stacks start to come into play here as well. You can see Transcendence has been finished at the same time as PandaCat, though. So Panda, right now, could they still box evenly, Taco? Or is it all Oceans all day right now in that boxing match?
It would be a horrible idea for PandaCat to try and take up a boxing match against Oceans right now, because even though he doesn't have the stacks on that ninja, on the Devourer's Gauntlets, at the same time, it's just not safe because he's got the sustain in comparison to PandaCat.
Well, that cost eUnited 2 ultimates there, trying to defend this speed buff, and it's causing them a lot of trouble because they're still going to lose that speed buff as well. We didn't mention the Raft start from CycloneSpin this game, but he's coming to play there to steal that away. And PolarBearMike gets credit for the 7th kill of this game, keeping him 100% kill participation. Big old washing machine up from Benji there. No one's dead so quickly this time round, though, as Allegiance are on the disengage, but they're going to be able to catch it. Potentially Benji here in an awkward spot. The poison's ticking away as well. And Weekend gets another kill. 8-0. This is a stomp, Taco.
This is not fun in the slightest for eUnited. Every single time they try to get their composition to come together to look for that burst potential that we talked about before we got into the game, this was the concern that I had. You saw the Xbalanque ult coming through with a Thor ultimate, but there's just no damage on their side yet. They needed to try and play this game out a lot more passive, a lot slower, but Pain getting picked so many times so early on just really put Allegiance in such a strong position to just, now they're just manhandling them and taking whatever they want in the jungle.
Well, this is eUnited, so they can take it late if they want to, at least attempt to try and stall this game out. We've seen them at big deficits before. I always say that because they are one of those North American teams that have gone 50-minute games, been losing for 45 minutes of that, and then still come back into it at some point. So that's why you can see PandaCat on this left-hand side, freezing the waves, still getting the last hits he needs for those stacks, but making sure that if Oceans wants to come here, he's got to overextend.
Level 11 Medusa, though, facing up against a level 9 Xbalanque, and PolarBearMike lurking around the corner. He wants it. They want to dive this Xbalanque, especially considering that he doesn't have boots yet, which makes him even more susceptible to those early tower dives, because Oceans is more than definitely going to have the damage coming through on the Medusa. Even if he doesn't have the stacks yet on his Devos, he has the damage from his abilities. Medusa's abilities still have great scaling. It packs a punch, and it would be more than enough damage with the Fafnir combination to knock out that Xbalanque.
And PandaCat there, was forced to wave clear a little bit earlier than he would like to there with that wave coming in because Pain needed the farm too. But also the Gold Fury is now a threat once more. Do we expect Allegiance to go straight for it, or will they look for a pick first, do you reckon?
They might look to just bait out a fight, just because why not go ahead and take them off the map? It would be a lot worse for eUnited as well if Allegiance were to pick up a kill or two and then secure the free Gold Fury. And because most likely who they're looking to target out at this point in time is they just want to keep Pain, for starters, locked down. That way the Terra sustain can never really be utilized and come through for these team fights. And Verizial next to that, because if a jungler's behind, your team's going to be behind.
Well, we mentioned the Gold Fury there, but the Portal Demon is now available. It's gone past the 10-minute mark now. So there's now 2 places you've got to ward, technically, and keep an eye on, because if one team is all on the left-hand side, they could be on the right-hand side doing the Portal Demon.
There's really not much of a way, though, for eUnited to try and respond to a Portal Demon aggression from Allegiance, and having a Chang'e and Serqet, that's more than enough damage and sustain for even Metyankey and Weekend to go ahead and look to sneak that or just take it away.
Talk about sneaking. Look at where Allegiance is positioned on the left-hand side here. They're looking for a trap, and it's PainDeViande that may have been sprung on one more time. Pain's going to die before anyone could turn up to support him there, just walking through his own jungle. 3 members of Allegiance will make the General go 0-4.
Pain is just not having fun at all. And
it's rough, man.
Yeah, it's
I saw you do this in ranked yesterday. What happens when you're this far behind,
let's just not discuss what happens in rank sometimes.
Well, Verizial in the sky now, trying to slow down Allegiance doing that Gold Fury. He won't slow him down much, though. Could look for a cheeky steal with a hammer if he can get in range, but PolarBearMike's not even going to give him the option there. Nice little stun from him. Allegiance continue to extend this gold lead. It's been like a slide so far.
Fafnir isn't exactly known to be the most dominant support in the meta right now, but if you can get him onto a CC-heavy composition like what Allegiance have drafted, you can really utilize his stuns and his silences and everything to your advantage, which is exactly what PolarBearMike has been doing the entire time. And well played to him, in all honesty, for him to go ahead and siege objectives when he needs to with Fafnir ultimate and just lock everything down.
Not only will they get a Gold Fury, they'll also get the Portal Demon as well. However, the fight started pretty well for eUnited there, but it's not well enough for eUnited to continue on that trend. The Terra ultimate has been used by PainDeViande just to give them access of escape, but all those ultimates on eUnited are on cooldown, where you can see there's a couple still available for Allegiance if they want to push somewhere on. But is there any way to really push right now, Taco? Should they be grouping up Allegiance with this lead, or is it still farm time?
I think Allegiance are most likely going to start farming immediately, especially considering that they know that eUnited just burned their ult composition to try and make something happen. And for them to come up short and literally nothing to come out of that team fight is actually
here's another trap. Khaos gets hammered time, and he's going to get escape through the portal. Verizial forced to beads as well. Both beads, I believe, were burnt there by both the jungle and the mid for relatively nothing on Allegiance.
And at this point in time, Allegiance should really look to just siege down that T1 tower. They know that the jungler and the mid laner have no actives. They know that they have ultimates in their favor, and that some of them are just now going to be coming up for eUnited. So you can see they're already grouping in the mid lane. That T1 tower is most likely going to go the way of Team Allegiance very soon.
Don't be surprised to see them look to dive Pain, but PandaCat recognizing that will group up. It's some extra farm for PandaCat as well, which he really needs at the moment as well. That Transcendence is fully stacked, but you can see the gold differential between the two hunters and the levels as well. PandaCat just looking for every little scrap he can find right now.
The issue is as well for eUnited that they're 3-4-man splitting every little bit of XP that they have left on the map.
Khaos, no beads this time round. You can't escape the nasty assassin that is Serqet right now, as Ocean's on the left-hand side going to try and backdoor the rest of this tower with no minions left. Ocean's still happy to trade, has Devourer's Gauntlets, remember, on that 2-level lead, and that's why PandaCat is forced back, because also lurking in the wings is weakened once more. And
PandaCat has no way to deal with Serqet in the slightest. He's just going to have to go ahead and default up his T1 tower. Ocean's more than happy to go ahead and take it, and with the Ickfall online, Ocean's is definitely going to come out on top for every single one of these trades. He's got like an item and a half right now on PandaCat. He has 2 levels. He is just hurting
And you can see PandaCat going to go back to base there, and you can see Oceans has noticed it alongside Metyankey. However, they're going to turn attention to the right-hand side here, look towards the speed buff with Cyclone and Weaken. In comes PolarBearMike over the wall too. Virizial looking for the double tap, a little bit of poke damage. Would have liked the speed buff if he could secure it. Instead, Khaos going to eat a waxing moon as well. Khaos is going to get away from the Aegis, but he won't get away from CycloneSpin in its entirety. 11-0, speed buff stolen away. Everyone relatively healthy on the side of Allegiance right now as eUnited can't even defend 3/4 of their way in the jungle now.
I mean, I wouldn't even consider Pain as a part of these team fights. He's a level 9 Terra trying to fight into level 15, 13. Cyclone's level 16, 17 now, actually. How do you defend when you're that far behind? You really just can't.
Realistically, as a support there, you're basically a walking ult bot. It's kind of the same situation that PandaCat's in too. They're both just ult bots for the time being because they can't bring anything else to the team until they start to try and get themselves back online. Both of them 2 levels down on their opposition. This dual lane. And you said this before Picks and Bans, during Picks and Bans too, just at the end. You were saying how much of a eUnited's composition here is very late game. They've got no real pressure in most of these lanes. Over the mid, which it looked like it went even, if anything. They didn't really have a monster lead compared to that of Allegiance.
Well, because Serqet and Chang'e both have just the same, they can match that lane clear in the mid lane. They had a little bit of poke out that came in favor for eUnited, but as soon as they went and cleared out the buff camps, Weaken's healing off the Boomba's mask, and plus you have the Chang'e, who has her own, kit heal.
Yep.
So it's easy for them to just go ahead, be even again entirely with Khaos and Virizial and not really get punished for anything. But at the same time, Khaos and Virizial have to be concerned. Our duo lane is, falling behind really hard. How do we defend our buffs? They can't.
Well, the problem is now Khaos is now falling behind because of that as well. Things are going to get worse for eUnited here as a waxing moon in mid hits 2, forcing out 2 beats and the ultimate and the portal away. But I still think Khaos might die to the poison. Dot damage, it might be enough to kill him. No, he will live for now. Virizial in the sky, he's forced to ult defensively as well. These globals being used just to escape the fights, and Cyclone going to continue to pressure for now. Great position for Allegiance.
That's a very spooky raid boss coming at Virizial as well. Level 18. Cyclone's pretty much free to walk wherever he wants to right now, and you can tell that he's definitely feeling himself. The
big thing about this as well, Taco, is when you look at what you can see on the items of Allegiance here as well, eUnited had mobility. Well, it's starting to be answered now because you can see 2 Shield of Regrowths on the side of Allegiance too. It's Race Car Chang'e, followed by as well, you're going to see PolarBearMike with that Race Car ability of the Shield of Regrowth as well. But you know how much CDR that gives?
That's a lot of CDR.
Do you know how much it is exactly?
With all their items combined?
No, just Shield of Regrowth.
Oh, 20%.
That's right. You just need to remember that because when After asks you, he's going to say it a lot. He likes to.
20%?
Yeah.
20%?
Yeah.
20%?
Okay, calm down now. That's enough. That's enough. You get the point across. 11-0 though, 17 minutes into. We expect a Fire Giant soon coming out from Allegiance now with how this game's gone.
I think that, if anything, they're just going to look for this Portal Demon, probably do the same thing that they've been doing at these Gold Fury objective fights, where all they're really waiting for is to just go ahead, get the pick, put eUnited in a really awkward position, and then siege up the free objective.
Beads it down for Virizial, and Virizial's getting all in straight away. The Aegis may buy him a moment of absorbing some damage, but he's still going to get chased down. The Catalyst is still on him too. He'll take to the sky, but the Petrify from Oceans will clean up the kill. Poison didn't really spread anywhere as Waxing Moon from the back going to force Aegis out of Khaos as well. He had no beads. Yankee credited for that kill as well, 13-0. PandaCat's ultimate on the defensive side to try and disengage his team, who are all pretty much already dead anyway, as is this tier 2 tower in the mid lane.
Allegiance could potentially look to push the mid Phoenix here as well, which I think that's their game plan at the moment, and it should be a free Phoenix for the most part, considering just how much damage they have already on their side.
Pain trying to slow him down. Instead, it's hammer time out of PolarBearMike, and Pain is going to fall again. The washing machine hits 2 coming out from Benji, but it's not enough to stop PandaCat from falling down to Metyankey as well. And still, Allegiance mark on. Virizial goes up to the sky, looks for a global ultimate here, but I don't think he's going to go in. He is, as the F6 key is pushed by eUnited. Was that the right call to F6 there?
I think that's a really that's a fair F6 to go ahead and make. There wasn't really looking like much of a chance for eUnited to come back. Maybe if the game had gone to 50 minutes, but with the direction that was taking and with how much push potential that Allegiance already have, it's just safer to go ahead and just refresh yourself, find out what went wrong, and just prepare for next week.
Prepare for next week. Well, a rough situation for eUnited on their debut as a new sponsored team. It's time to head over to the analysts to break that one down. Complete comparison to Game 1.
18-minute slugfest It's pretty much what we just saw out of ALG and, well, just ALG. Things didn't look too good for the eUnited boys tonight. A little bit of trouble there coming out for the guys under the new banner. New solo laner, new organization, new mentality, new picks with the Xbalanque, and it just don't work. What went wrong in game number 2?
Allegiance just knew exactly what eUnited was going to do from the get-go. They understand that eUnited knows that the healing was too strong in game 1 for Allegiance, and they just set up the draft perfectly, weakened on the Serqet, made an impact right away, all across the map. Every lane had pressure for Allegiance. It was not even close.
Yeah, you can see ALG with the 7K healing to 1K. Not quite the 21,000 differential from game number 1, but certainly a big step.
They just didn't have any early game pressure for eUnited. They drafted this double Guardian composition between both Xing and the Terra in game number 2. Whereas in game number 1 for Allegiance, they had Amaterasu for PolarBearMike, so they were able to get away with that Terra in the solo lane. And that's why we see the difference in game 1 and 2.
You know, it was very interesting. We saw the Xbalanque in that late game, like you said, the early game. I was cautiously optimistic about the Xbalanque. We talk so much about early game pressure, this, that, or a third, but specifically the Hunter role, early game pressure is... The power curves have slowed down a lot. We used to see Boots and Ichabod go, go, go. Now we're seeing Bluestone Trans 1. You can take your time over there in the duo lane, right? So I wasn't too concerned about the Xbalanque. Do you think the Xbalanque had a negative impact?
I mean, eUnited needed pressure somewhere. And when you draft Xbalanque, that's you saying, all right, you get pressure here. You know, we'll wait. We'll chill. We'll just try and make a play in the late game. But with how little pressure they had also drafted around the map, it really became a problem for them. Now, on paper, in the mid lane, that's where they should have had the pressure. Up against the Chang'e and Metyankey, they should have had pressure with Khaos there. But Serqet just got so big, so fast, that they lost all of that pressure. And Allegiance knew that because you see every team fight, where is weak and ulting? If it isn't picking someone off in the jungle, it's always looking at Khaos, putting pressure on that mid laner.
And they never really got off to the start that they wanted to, utilizing their ultimates offensively. They were always on the back foot because of the pressure that Weekend had throughout. And this play right here, this is just a frustration play out of Khaos, trying to get something back for his team, going onto PolarBearMike on the Fafnir, but a great use of the immunity frames.
And also a great lacerate there from Ocean's. Got to give him shout-outs too, because Khaos is expecting to get one more step in to guarantee that unstable vortex, but Ocean stops him in his tracks with the lacerate, rooting him in place.
Yeah, Ocean's really another one of the standout players right here. You know, we could just go on a tear like you were talking about, obviously keeping the healing of the enemies down to a very low number. Still going to continue with these kills. One of the cool things about this game for eUnited, for Team Allegiance rather, is that they were virtually shut out. Excuse me. The only kill for eUnited came in the very last moments of the game. But you know, you brought up Oceans real quick, and Oceans in his sophomore season, absolutely crushing it. This guy was one of my standout rookies of last year. I think he had a great performance despite being on a team that didn't really find a lot of wins. But here on ALG, I think he might have a new future.
He's definitely taken his sophomore year to great stride off of the leadership that Weekend has provided him. He has the space that he needs to be able to just do his job as a hunter, even, you know, following up off of the dives, not afraid to go even wrapping around that tier 1 tower.
And using Petrify to not only deal damage, but clear the wave at the same time to alleviate some of the pressure of that tower dive.
Especially considering the fact that that wave could potentially body block somebody from getting into safety. That was a huge play, actually.
Big stuff coming out from everybody on eUnited, specifically the Hunter and the Jungler. Really cool to see Weekend do fantastic stuff out of the jungle. I think a lot of people sort of forget that Serqet is certainly in his wheelhouse. We're so used to the 667 memes and, you know, Weekend really driving some of the more defensive style junglers that we don't get to see Weekend in his old-fashioned just kill 'em all type role. So bringing out the Serqet was certainly an excellent little throwback. And that's going to do it for us here on Thursday Night Smite. I'd like to thank my co-commentators, obviously Anatolian Aggro here at the desk, but we also have a Hindu Man and Taco standing by that helped us out as well. Taco really pulling it out on the commentary desk as well. As far as our day went, we had 2 games from North America, 2 games from Europe. It was a split down the middle for Team Dignitas and Elevate. Split down the middle for Cyclone and Lion Guard. Noble topples in memory of Gabe in a surprise upset, and Team Allegiance versus eUnited. Despite the new banner, eUnited could not come on top versus ALG, bringing out some of the fancy stuff like the mid Chang'e. Aggro, real quick, Gonna dive back into analysis. Rarely do we do this as we're in our outro segment already. How did you feel about the mid lane Chang'e?
Feels good. When you get free pressure from your jungler and you can just kind of coast through your bad early game, Chang'e can be a great force in the mid to late game.
Little history. Basically, Chang'e mid started out on the console scene where aggro started out, and he's hated it ever since. So
you can't crack into Chang'e, so I hate it. Like it's.
I like to poke him out a little bit.
Come on.
Because that we have fun here, and we hope you did too. We're going to continue having fun on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday we'll have our European matches, of course, and Sunday we're going to take a look at North America. Some exciting matches along the way. Thank you for everybody that started with our commentary. Thank you for the people backstage to put this set together. Thank you for hi-rez pretty hair that's right there. And thank you in chat for spamming forehand every time aggro shows up. We had a wonderful Thursday night. We'll see you Saturday. Peace!